Another Wednesday of Straight Talk here on West Coast Radio 92.1. It is always good to be with you, to be in your homes as we discuss issues pertinent to our nation, to our nation's development. As we always say, Straight Talk is here to, is a platform for straight talk discourse, truthful discourse on the issues that affect our dear nation. And it is good for us to also state that we hold no brief for anybody. We just want to facilitate a discussion, get to educate ourselves as Gambians as to the issues that we contend with and how we as Gambians can also contribute to the development and well-being of our nation. We had discussions on different topics. Today we are going to look at the issue of corruption, what we are hearing from the commissions, the outcome of the commission and the Court of Appeal, Karafi versus the Attorney General, what went wrong, what is going to happen for assets of the past president, former President Jammeh, that have been sold. The ministry has issued a release stating that there is suspension on the sale of assets. We want to just have a frank and open discussion, and we will touch maybe a little on the APRC press conference and some of the allegations they have made against the government of the Gambia, against the AG, just so that we could see where, as it were, if there is any wrongdoing and how do we correct these. Are there issues of corruption that need to be investigated and the like. So welcome to the program. This evening, again in the studio, we have my good brother, Mr. Nyang Njie. Nyang, welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening, listeners.
Yeah, Nyang, close to our hearts and in my mind is the issue of the commission and the appeal that Karafi mounted at the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal has stated that the government, the commission report and recommendations are not sufficient to execute any recommendation. It should go through the courts. And so it seems that the sale was illegal in a way. What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you. I believe that the scales of justice are blindfolded for a reason, that is impartiality. And when this commission started, or even prior to the commission, immediately after the elections, Gambians wanted three things: a constitution, fact-finding commissions of inquiries. How should this commission of inquiries should have happened? That's up to another debate. But notwithstanding, I believe in due process, and what Karafi did, I think, is the right thing. And for now, that is the law of the land until the Supreme Court states otherwise. So for now, I think the precedent is the ruling for the Karafi case. There's two issues here. There's a moral issue. The moral issue is no political party in this Gambia or person should tell Gambians that Yahya Jammeh's assets shouldn't be disposed of. But I think we have a problem in the manner in which they were disposed. Yes.
Well, I think listening to the APRC press conference, I have always said one thing. I think one of the mistakes Gambians have made is to use Yahya Jammeh as a yardstick, or the things that he did, or our anger with Yahya Jammeh was such that we did not mind overlooking certain aspects of the law. But as you said, the law is blind. So if you are faulty in any side of the law, it will catch up with you. So there was every government could have taken every step to take the recommendations, as we have discussed just before, wholeheartedly and submit to the courts for an order to be issued, so that whatever was done in the right manner. But right now it seems the anger, the agitation, maybe the anger to punish the man overtook our sense of judgment, or the government's sense of judgment.
Well, the biggest problem, and we are seeing this day in, day out, post December 2016. The Gambians were yearning for a dawn of a new day.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we had a dawn of a new day by the fact that Jammeh was out and a new Gambia was to be birthed. But the biggest problem there then was the managing and taming of the Gambians' expectation. And the leadership has woefully failed in managing and taming the expectations of the polity. We are within our rights emotionally to see Yahya Jammeh punished to the full extent of the law. But that's our wish and aspirations as people. The leadership, through the Ministry of Justice, the executive, must have created an avenue that will be legally based and procedurally anchored on good law, equity, and good governance. And transparency, to make sure that we as a country collectively get to the bottom of this and deal with Yahya Jammeh once and for all, and still give him his due as a human being, even though he never gave that to us. Notwithstanding, we owe it to him as a person. I can tell you two things. Nyang Njie as a person, I have no good feelings about the person called Yahya Jammeh. But he is protected by law, and that law must be executed to the spirit and letter of what the law intends.
That is very fair, because we as a people, we must be careful not to take the law into our hands. If that is the case, then if somebody does wrong to me, then I can go and do wrong, without going through due process. But
absolutely.
But it is, I think the nation needs to sit and have a rethink. Because one of the allegations again that the APRC made is they had 20 vehicles for the party, and the vehicles were taken from them. The vehicles have not been named or listed in the assets of Jammeh, and they don't know where the vehicles are. But you see, no, as angry as we are, legality is legality. There is law, there is morality. But again, it behoves us, like you said, they are a legally registered party, and they have a right. So if the government or whoever was responsible for taking their vehicles, it should be documented somewhere. But right now, we don't know, as they are claiming, who has their vehicles.
Well, I think there's two sides to every story. APRC was synonymous to Jammeh, and Jammeh was synonymous to APRC.
Okay.
He has always been the patron-in-chief, and he has been the financier of the party, and we all know that. And we all knew at some point there was a thin line between Jammeh, the state, just like the French will say, l'état c'est moi.
Okay.
Yahya Jammeh was the state, and the state was Yahya Jammeh. So APRC's assets, I'm sorry to say, if they have books, all parties must have books. If they have books, they should have receipt for the sale, for the purchase of that car. And this is a country of law. Let them take their receipt to the Ministry of Justice or to the police and said, these cars were bought by us and it's been seized by the state. And the state will be duty-bound legally to provide those cars and give it back to them. In the absence of those papers, I'm sorry.
But Mr. Njie, take for instance, we have our National Assembly members that have received 57 cars. Well, in the National Assembly, each has received a car. But, it's a gift. So, how would you document that you purchased?
No. I will not use that as an example to justify what has happened. All I am just saying here is the APRC. I am an arch, I won't say enemy or rival, but opponent of the APRC. But I vehemently supported their existence post Jammeh. And well, we knew exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, Gambians didn't want them to be in the political fray.
Okay.
But because of my belief and conviction that it's a marketplace of ideas and there are people who subscribe to their philosophy and they are Gambians and they must have a right to be heard. I supported their right to be heard.
Yeah.
All I'm saying here is if APRC is aggrieved, they can go to court. If they bought cars and the state happens to confiscate those cars, all they have to do is show a proof of purchase and ask the state, and if so, I will want the state to return the last car back to them because it's theirs.
Okay, but if the cars were given to them
by who?
By Jammeh.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay,
let them go and ask Jammeh for the receipts and bring it.
Then are we saying that anybody Jammeh gave a gift to, then the state should take back the gifts that Jammeh gave to people?
Well, all I know.
No, because
all I know, allow me. All I know and all I'm saying is, it's always said, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Equally, that same principle can apply. If you give me something, and it supposedly it should have a title, I will ask you to transfer a title to me, and that transfer will show proof of sale, proof of purchase. Or deed of gift, or deed of gift. Then the party has something to hold on to. But if I just give you a car to drive, and that's how folly the APRC has been, because l'état c'est moi was the principle Jammeh used, and they believe that, hey, we can drive a car without any paper because no one will stop us. Well, unfortunately, the chicken has come
but if they have insurance papers, I don't want to...
Insurance paper is nothing. We're talking about title.
If the cars were insured in their names.
I can give a car to someone and the title and it's mine. And they have an insurance in their name. What matters is title. They need title. So
if the cars are legally, if they have documents to show, your point is they could go to the courts and they should be paid back.
And you know what? If they happen to have title, bona fide title, the state is obliged, and I will be the first to say that the state must give them what's theirs.
How would you react to one of the other things they said, that Jammeh is supposedly had 7,000 heads of cattle, but it's as if only 700 were accounted for as being sold?
Kutuki nyurer sa ganaw, once again, wall of word, and very proverbial and prophetic. Number one, nyarel alelimbolo chimbolo la des. Then I will now come to the issue proper. Immediately during the chaos and pandemonium of Jammeh leaving Gambia, or on his verge, a lot of people that had things for him sat on them. Unfortunately. But you know what? C'est la vie.
No, but Mr. Njie, if you take this point, I mean, this is straight talk. If you take
I am talking straight.
If you take the point that alelimbolo chimbolo like this, it means that if a thief, I mean, we all want to
can say thief man, thief, God laugh.
No, but if thief man, thief, God laugh. Then we are opening the space for jungle justice.
I'm not saying that, and I'm not advocating, but I'm just going back to Sumawahimam.
But it's wrong.
No, I'm not saying right or wrong here. Damani, balanga complain. Balanga ote sangu, feka nga sangu, dañ sacha suma alal. War nga laajte yow la nga am fan nga ko jëlee. Thief man, thief, God laugh.
All right. I'm going forward. I mean, the state has already sold some items.
Yes.
Belonging to Jammeh. Now they're suspending.
Belonging to the state in the possession of Jammeh. I want that to be clarified. Yes.
But you see,
now you've touched a subject that is so dear to me. Hold on. Allow me. You've touched a subject so dear to me. I think the manner in which the state handled the Jammeh process, proceeds, could have been better, and I don't advocate for the manner in which the assets were disposed of. I don't. Not at all. But notwithstanding, now the state must do two things. Rectify.
How?
Hold on. But what is left? Let the state hold on to it, have a proper evaluation, and dispose of them And after the disposition of it, let's find something that will be to the interest of the greater good and put it into that cause.
All right. I'm not a legal mind. I mean, I hope we will get one of the lawyers to come and explain this, because I am looking at, you have engaged in illegality by selling something, whether you believe it was Jammeh's own oil, it was the state's own, it's not the point now. You have illegally sold it. The court now says that, and the appeals court has declared that you have engaged in an illegal process.
I agree.
If Jammeh came to, or if Jammeh got a lawyer to sue the government of the Gambia for the illegal sale of his assets,
simple.
Will the court not be bound to rule in his favor?
You know what? If Jammeh sues the court and the state,
yeah.
I will be so happy, and Jammeh will have a day in court. Mm-hmm. And that day, I'm sure the state will call him as a witness.
Okay.
All the state will want to know proof of income for what you have bought. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And rightly so. We can return everything to Jammeh, provided he can show us sufficient and adequate proof of income for owning what he has owned. No problem whatsoever. I don't have a problem with that. But I will affirm that the Karafi ruling is a great ruling in my view. And the government messed up. And I will tell you where the government messed up, because I don't mince my words. Justice is for all. And if you want to seek justice, you don't bring an impartial arraignment. The commission named a lot of people and found many adverse findings against a lot. Yeah. But the state pick and choose who they wanted to go after and who they wanted to exonerate. Therefore, what the Harafi ruling did, I am so pleased with it, because it has shown the state you have overstepped your bounds. That white paper must have been given wholesale to the Ministry of Justice and be asked to execute it to the spirit of the law.
To the judiciary.
To the judiciary,
yeah,
sorry.
Okay.
And be asked to execute it to the spirit of the law. Then we will know that the state meant good. They had good intent for the interest of the greater good. But kumamu amday at kumamu amundai lilajo.
But this is also good for our democracy, which means that the arms of government are working autonomously, they are working independent of each other. Because obviously, if it was under our 22 years, there is no way I feel the judiciary would have ruled against this.
The same APRC that's been talking about what Jammeh has taken from them. Did they forget what Jammeh took from the parties that they found here and individuals without the due process of law? But an eye for an eye is not what we want.
That is exactly my point.
I agree. Yeah. An eye for an eye is not what we want. Yeah. But he who is with equity and clean hands can come to the table. And I'm sorry, the mouths we're hearing from don't have the legal or moral authority to question Gambians, even though the government has blundered on this one.
No, but Nyang, that will be unfair. They are Gambians. They are Gambians. They have a right. Because you see,
I am giving you my opinion.
No, I agree.
And my opinion is not law.
No, I agree.
All I'm saying is the same very people who are advocating to get back what's Jammeh, did they advocate for what was Mbai Njie and Sons? No. Did they advocate for Mr. X and Mrs. Y that Jammeh took? Look.
But we keep saying two wrongs don't make a right.
Law
is law.
Two wrongs don't make a right. But equally, there are people who call themselves public opinion leaders, number one, public figures, political figures. Yeah. They must have conscience and the courage of conviction to first and foremost say, we have been wrong, but equally we have wronged Gambian for far too long. That is the beginning of atonement, and that's the beginning of reconciliation. I told you, I advocated for the existence of APRC as a party, and that wasn't done out of emotion, it was done out of logic. But equally, I expected, after they have been given a chance to operate, I would call it a chance, because we could have collectively as Gambians, we could have. And in the early days, you know and I know that APRC muted themselves because they didn't know their fate. But you know what? We have emboldened them once again, and we have made life comfortable. And this is the beauty of the Gambia we are beginning to build. Even our aggressors and transgressors, we have given them space to operate. But with that, they should be morally upright to say, we have done wrong to Gambians collectively. And you know what? We are one, and we should atone and let bygones be bygones. Then I will look at their wrongs and side with them.
You talk about emboldening the APRC, but is the move of the government, of our current government, by taking in people that were, key people in the APRC to surround themselves with these people? Will that all not add to embolden?
Dañ tas yaakaari askan bi xam nga luy tas yaakaar suma maam ne ku ndobin rey sa maam boo gisee lu ñuul dawal waaye nguur gi nag dañ jël lu ñuul yi not uuf leen rek but boof leen toog seen kaw loolu naxaru nañ ko ndigte ñi nga xam ne ñoo bokkoon si li ñu jooyloo démba ñoo ñi nga xam ne tey ñoo amee ndënda yi di ko tëgal nu mu leen neexee loolu man de ñaawlu naa ko, and that's why I said what I bargained for and what I'm living under today is not the same.
Okay. Disposing the assets of the president before the end of we've discussed this before the commission gave its recommendations, some of the assets of the president were disposed.
But rightly so. Cattle, I'll give you a simple example.
Yeah.
Why should I feed a cattle waiting for an outcome at my cost?
Okay, I can understand cattle, but what about the vehicles?
I think the vehicles were sold after.
No.
They were before?
Before the commission finished.
Well, I'm not aware of
because you see, we talk about corruption during Jammeh's time, but we cannot, as I said earlier,
Lubon du yaga bem dagan lolu la suñ mami wax Lubon du yaga bem dagan, so we will not legitimize something that's bad. So if it was bad for Jammeh, it is bad for them.
But that is why I feel Gambians are now calling for transparency.
I agree.
I think Gambians demand to know how these assets were disposed of.
Yes.
Who were the auctioneers, or how it was done? Was it made public? Was it transparent? And things like that. APRC hasn't even mentioned your name.
Rightly so.
In their press conference, which I think it's only right. This is straight talk. Let's hear.
You tell me what they've said.
Well, they said you bought. I think the leader said you bought a Benz, and he was corrected that it was a Range Rover.
And it's not even a Range Rover.
And you bought it for 100,000. So what is your?
For the record, and for all Gambians.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, and I will say it for myself. There's two types of justice. Natural justice, that's one.
Yeah.
And also the justice based on the law of man.
Okay.
Me personally, Nyang Njie, I am an aggrieved Gambian that Yahya Jammeh bulldozed my house, and this state, current government to date, are yet to even tell me something tangible about my damage.
Okay.
So I decided to use my natural justice instinct and say, you know what? I will get even with that thing called Yahya Jammeh by buying something that was. Hold on.
Don't call it a thing.
That thing called Yahya Jammeh. I will.
This straight talk.
I am talking straight.
Cannot be
but,
a thing.
Well, you asked me, and I'm telling you, I am talking straight.
All right.
That thing called Yahya Jammeh. I'm going to buy one of his prized and coveted possessions. And I did, but unfortunately for everyone saying what they're saying, I didn't buy it from the state. I bought it from someone who bought it from the state. And whatever they're quoting, I didn't buy it at that price. And it's not something I need, but it's something that gives me joy. Because you know what? I want Yahya Jammeh to know that 99 days for him. 1 day for the people he has aggrieved.
For you, it was bringing closure, back closure to
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm very happy that I did that.
Well, listeners will be opening.
I'm not a Manjago, but I felt back. I love to get my day. Well, I got my day with him, even Stephen.
The Manjagos will have something to say to that. But if you are there listening, we'll open the lines in the next 5 minutes. But it's good to, as we talk and fight corruption, it's good that we don't just condemn what Jammeh did. If there are issues that are coming out now, whether it's the Ministry of Justice, whether it's the Gambia government, the president, whoever, we need to understand. We need to know what went on, because two wrongs don't make a right.
I totally agree.
If Jammeh was a thief, this government cannot afford to be thieves.
I totally agree with you that we changed Jammeh's government because of brutality, lack of probity, and bad governance.
Right.
So we will not substitute that government and say, so long as there's no bloodshed, we are happy. Oh no.
Yeah.
That's not what we bargained for, and that's not what we aspired collectively as Gambians. Therefore, we are all duty-bound as Gambians to keep this government on the straight and narrow all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes you, many others like you and myself, we raise our voices.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
That's important.
Yes.
Yeah. The last thing I would want to talk about is just the sort of the rumors about coup d'etat and things like that. I even shiver to think that the government has dispelled that, but whoever was sending those audios, I think every Gambian should be able to get up and say, this is, we are not going to take this.
No, but see, we need to understand one thing. There is what you call credible information.
Yeah.
Yeah? I think the state even glorified that by giving it a press statement.
Okay.
It should not have gone that far. Sometimes there are certain things, because if that's the case, every little thing the state hears, they will come with a statement.
Okay.
Look, there are things that are not worth even our time here in the studio. I will not spend my time talking about the press release and the purported whatever. So,
but it can also give people ideas.
No, but you know what? If that's the case, the state will be on a daily basis talking about things that have no substantive issue or basis.
Yeah.
Those audios, look, you need to understand, we are at the age, the Gambian has a newfound freedom, and we are yet to understand how to use this freedom.
Okay.
And that's why we're going through all this. And I'll be very honest with you. If you want to be my friend, don't send me WhatsApp forwarded audio messages. I hate it because you're taking my... I don't want to. But it's the power of this phone and the people's newfound freedom, the way they're exercising it.
The last question before we open the lines will be opened just after Mr. Njie deals with this. Do you feel the government understands the dynamics of the people that they now lead?
Look, government is a body. Sorry, the people are a body, and the government is a thermometer. And the government must always have their thermometer close to the people to read their temperature.
Are they reading it?
I'll give you a simple case. Donald Trump thought all was well, and now he realized that all is not well. The government of the Gambia, if not careful, will have a rude awakening. And the rude awakening doesn't mean it has to be physical, no. It will be a decisive decision taken by the people to vent their frustration or to take care of issues that they thought that they wanted to see and they didn't see as of now.
Wow. Well, listeners out there, the lines are open. If you want to join the conversation, you can call. We're talking about issues of corruption. We're talking about the Jammeh Commission and the court ruling. The lines are open. We have a caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening, bro. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Can you tell us where you're calling from? And if you don't mind, you can tell us your name.
Yeah, I'm calling from Jammeh.
Okay. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Yeah, I think this program is very, very important. Because the issues of corruption. Corruption is a very difficult thing to fight.
Yeah.
Because we don't have special dedicated people who are ready to do those kind of works.
Yeah.
Because we almost have on civilian those who have to be, for example, like a detective, and they are ready to take the responsibility.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it like people like media, like BBC, Al Jazeera, they are journalists. They have detectives.
Investigative journalists.
They go through so many things to find out, which are disturbing the general public or corruption.
Yeah.
Whereby when they bring crops to give it to the general public or these fertilizers, I normally watch it in other part of Africa.
Yeah.
So why can't we, try and do certain things.
Okay.
But everybody will say that, yes, I'm working for the country, country. But at the end of the day, 99.9, they are working for their pocket.
Okay.
So I think it will be very difficult. It's very sad. It will be very difficult to Gambia to go forward.
All right, thank you.
Definitely.
Okay,
Because you see corruption in your eye naked. You see it plain. So it's like it's something which is legalized in Gambia. I don't know what is going on.
Okay, sir. All right, thank you very much, caller. Mr. Njie, the government has done well in putting an anti-corruption bill before Parliament. Parliament are the people's representatives. Up to now, that bill has not yet become law.
Well,
so
I know that
the government can tell you that they are interested in fighting corruption, but it's Parliament delaying.
I don't know what happened to the bill, but I know that I was part of a team that validated a document for how you call it again, the Republican Institute with in collaboration with was it Follow the Money?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Gambia participates.
Gambia participates exactly. I thought by now that
it's before.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe let's wait and see what's happened and what's going to happen during the next session.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Where are you calling from, sir? Yeah, where are you calling from?
Calling from Robert.
Okay, all right. Welcome to Straight Talk.
I want to contribute on two things.
Yes, sir.
One on the aspect of the Jammeh Commission, telling aspects of the former president before the end of the commission. The factors were told while the commission was sitting. They were still in various positions across the country.
Yeah.
For me, those factors were both purposely for farming. And Minister of Agriculture said they want to mechanize agriculture.
Yeah.
Now, if you sell those tractors, just put it purposely to mechanize agriculture, you sell it to different people who are not farmers. Definitely, to me, it's an insult. And we are not interested in getting agriculture to develop this country.
Wow. Okay.
The other aspect of it is, I think Yahya mentioned.
Okay. All right.
But the caller is right. What he said about the tractors, it could have been best used for the interest of the greater good by making sure that the state puts it in the state use, and that would have helped the general population.
You've always talked about Jahali Pachar, and
exactly. Exactly.
Why couldn't they just use it?
You're right.
We have a call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen.
Can you tell us where you're calling from, and if you don't mind your name? Kotu. Okay. Welcome to Straight Talk.
I just wanted to ask. I'm a little bit concerned about the 50 million that was allocated to the victims.
TRRC.
Yeah. Now, that was dependent on the proceeds from the sale of the Jammeh asset.
Yeah.
So how will that be affected with this new development?
Well, I think the Justice Ministry will be in a better position to answer. But Mr. Njie.
Well, I think the ruling, I love the ruling once again. That's the Harafi ruling. But I'm sure the state will do its utmost to appeal. And this is the beauty of our newfound democracy. Yeah. The state, the three arms of government, looks like they are not at loggerheads, but they're walking. Yeah. They're not walking in tandem in a lot of ways, and that is good for us, the people.
That's
so
what we need.
It means someone is taming the excesses of each and other branch of government. So sometimes we believe that all is not well in Gambia, but I believe our budding democracy is beginning to take shape, and now what we need to change is the culture of the Gambian and the mindset of the Gambian as it relates to participation in our public sphere.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yeah, welcome to Straight Talk. Where are you calling from, sir? Can you tell us your name and where you're calling from, if you don't mind?
My name is Alex. I'm calling from Brookwood.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. Welcome
I just want to make a correction for the last caller said before me. He said TRRC, not TRRC, Jammeh Commission.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
For your report, please.
All right.
No. I think what he said was a 50 million was taken from the sale of Jammeh's assets and given to the TRRC.
For the victims.
It's given to the TRRC for the victims.
Okay, but the commission is Jammeh Commission.
Yes. Yes. Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah. Well, it was sale of Jammeh's assets. The proceeds, 50 million, was given.
Like I said in the opening,
support.
we the people, we have emotional issues with then President Jammeh.
Yeah.
Now the state should have managed and tamed our expectations, and that's where leadership comes in, and that's where they have failed us. Our revolution, our peaceful revolution through the ballot has been derailed in many aspects. The wishes and aspirations and dreams we had didn't crystallize because the leadership lost track.
I'm going to ask a question, but let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, actually, I'm back now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Article 12 was the anti-corruption bill. That bill was sent to National Assembly, but that will be withdrawn by the Minister of Justice.
It was withdrawn?
So, but to me, personally, from the information I received, I doubt whether they will send it back to the National Assembly in this 2020 legislative year. I doubt.
It was withdrawn.
Huh?
It was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn, yes, amendment. This is what they said. Yes, it was taken and later withdrawn by the Minister of Justice in the last parliamentary sitting.
Okay.
Just to amend certain provisions of it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it will not be back until at the end of the year, until next year, because that's not to be passed. Because if it is passed, it will hold dead and that in government.
Well, it will be interesting to.
It is that is withdrawn. You will not withdrawn it.
Yeah.
Amendment proposal. So, you will take it back within this 2020 legislative year.
In my role in civil society, I will try and do a follow-up and find out where we are with that. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
But if the government fails to have a referendum before the presidential election for a new constitution, what would be your rating of this transition?
We got Jammeh out, and we were hoping that the transition, but unfortunately we didn't have a transition. The transitional government would have fixed the wrongs of the past, fixed the institutions that Jammeh weakened, and give us a document that will give equity and protect every Gambian, including our electoral laws, citizenship, etc., etc. So if we fail going to the next election without a constitution, these people might as well say, we failed you. Yeah, that's a failing grade.
Next week we'll get into the final draft of the 2020 constitution and maybe have a legal mind here in the house to help us. Do we have a call? Okay, we don't have a call. But it's interesting what you're saying, because what we're seeing, hearing that the cabinet is not happy with the aspects of the constitution that reduces the powers of the presidency. But isn't it good for the powers of an individual or an individual office to be balanced out, so that there are enough checks and balances, so that we don't get into
the cabinet
dictatorship?
Appointed by a person we elected. So if the president said that he is not happy with what we have in the constitution, I would have wasted my breath to talk about it. But cabinet,
they are advisors to him.
That's his problem. But my point is, my nexus, you see, in everything you have a nexus in a relationship. My nexus with the cabinet is the president, because it's the president that I elected. So he chose who he wants at his cabinet. That's his problem. So if the cabinet ministers decide to say we are not happy with this, that's their problem, not the people. We are waiting for the president to tell us what he is not happy about.
Interesting. Well, the number to call is 446-1193, 446-1193 to join us on Straight Talk, talking about issues of corruption, talking about issues that pertain to our daily lives that we need as a people, bringing awareness to your doorstep so that we build a better Gambia. Issue of corruption. What would you say we the people can do to ensure that we fight corruption? Okay, we'll take the call and then we'll answer that. Welcome, caller, to Straight Talk. Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from? Good evening.
I'm calling from Serekunda.
Can you please turn down the volume of your radio so that we don't have a conflict in the sound?
Calling from Serekunda.
Okay. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you very much. Just want to make a small contribution.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm with the feeling that in terms of the changes that the people have voted for, are yet to be realized.
Okay.
I once contributed to a program on this particular radio.
Okay.
And there was a panelist who focused, who asked his fellow panelists the date, that very day they were doing the program. Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir. We are listening.
Are you with me?
We are listening to you. Go ahead.
Very good. And he forecasted that this government will next win the next term. At that stage, I was a little bit annoyed. Because I thought it was a bit early to say such.
Okay.
I would feel the feeling that they would have been given some time to make the necessary changes.
Yeah.
But right now, as I am seeing things, I have with the feeling that maybe that man was a good fortune teller in a sort of. Because, I mean, we are not achieving what the change is meant for. Yes, and that is not realistic.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, it's fine, sir. It's fine. This is why we're here. Yes, Mr. Jammeh.
Corruption. I think first we need to have a cultural shift and a shift in paradigm. Our biggest fundamental problem is there are certain things that our culture doesn't shun. Njegi Guru, for example, is a way of life within our cultural context.
Okay.
So education, reorientation, sensitization from kindergarten to high school will be the beginning of changing some of these things. And also people need to understand that government is not a place you invest to make money, but a place you come in to change your life. That's not what we want. We want selfless people to get into government to help the rebuilding of this nation.
Okay.
So if you're selfish, you are not cut out for public service. Public servants are selfless people.
Well, that's interesting. That's even the term public servants. I mean, you're there to serve, and I believe that's why maybe sometimes we feel, or maybe public servants feel people are very harsh on them. But it's just the expectation. People expect our public servants to serve, and sometimes if our public servants want to lord things over us, I think it makes life a bit uncomfortable for the average.
Well, the moment you use the word servant, servitude, subservient, it means you are a subordinate of someone. So the public servant is someone who is subservient to the interests of the greater good, we the people. And if you happen to choose to work for we the people, there are certain things you don't do. If you see traffic and you see long queues, all of the people other than taxi drivers getting off are GGs and military cars. Most of the time. I'm sure you notice that. And how can me, being a master, I'm on the queue, my servant is off the road violating the law? Do you notice that sometimes?
No, of course we do. Yeah, we have a call. Yes, caller?
Yeah, gentlemen.
Yes.
I was doing a research and I was trying to dig into some of the speeches that Barrow made. I have never heard him talk about corruption, the word corruption. Maybe somebody knows about it. I have checked almost about 15 or 16 speeches he made.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a single word corruption he mentioned.
Okay.
So, I mean, it tells a lot, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We don't care about corruption.
Yeah, but if the same government puts in a bill before Parliament, an anti-corruption bill,
no, but
is that not a sign?
I remember it was the Safiyatu Singhan or something, Justice Minister Singhan or something. He presented that bill.
Yeah.
And then Gambia is the only country in the region that doesn't have an anti-corruption agency.
Okay.
Sierra Leone they are doing fine now with their anti-corruption.
Corruption, yeah.
Likewise Senegal. Ghana.
Yeah. I will do my research to find out what happened to that bill.
You will never see one.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
That's interesting. Well, if he doesn't use the word corruption but uses a synonym of corruption, then maybe.
Well, you never know.
Well, this is the first time I'm hearing something like this, but this is an interesting thing.
But
we
I can.
have another call? Okay. Yeah. Good evening, caller.
Hello, evening.
Yes. Welcome to Straight Talk.
My name is Daud Juf. I'm calling from Tangier.
Okay, you're welcome, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Njie.
Yes, sir.
I am one of his fans. The way he put things, I really love it. I really like it.
Yeah.
And I am trying to tell him to continue doing the good job, the good work that he is doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But there are certain areas that he mentioned, which I for one, I think I am not in line with those ones.
Okay. Can you mention
as
that?
a Gambian, I think we need to give credit to these governments because there are certain things that the government has achieved, and those things have to be mentioned in whatsoever we are trying to say. One of it is the freedom that the Gambia has. Before there was no freedom in this country, but as of today, Gambia is having a good democracy. It's having a good freedom as of today. So I think we all need to admit that. And the other thing that I want to say here is we are going on institutional reforms. There are a lot of institutional reforms that this government is doing, and I think we need to tap on their back on whatsoever they are doing to achieve those institutional reforms.
Okay.
And for the constitution, I think to me is National Assembly members who are delaying all the processes of the new constitution that that we are all foreseeing as a country. So I think that's my contribution.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Well said. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, listeners, we have the Honorable Justice, Mr. Tamedu. Honorable, welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Njie.
Well, somebody made a call. In fact, I said I was going to call you after this, that the anti-corruption bill has been withdrawn by the Justice Ministry.
The first thing I would say before I make any direct response to this,
Okay.
one of the biggest threats is fledgling and budding democracy.
Yeah.
Is misinformation.
Okay.
People will say things that they don't know about, they don't follow to research, they don't follow the news, and they just wake up and just say things without any justification whatsoever.
Okay.
And that is a threat to our democracy. People should be careful what information they give out there, because very easily your audience will believe what is being said.
Yeah.
Now, that is simply not true. The Anti-Corruption Commission is still at the National Assembly. Only about 2 weeks ago, the FPAC Committee,
Okay.
the Finance and Public Accounts Committee, invited me and my staff. We went and had an exchange with them
Okay.
to brief them about the content of the Anti-Corruption Commission
Okay.
and the difference between the bill that we are proposing and the Anti-Corruption Act of 2012.
Okay.
Only about 2 weeks ago we had them, because that is what the National Assembly committees do
Yeah.
when bills are presented to them. So they discuss it at the committee stage.
Yeah.
So it is still at the National Assembly. It has never been withdrawn.
Okay.
Why is that caller calling and saying it was withdrawn? Where did he get that from?
Well.
And of course, I also had my brother, Mr. Nyang Njie, talk about the fact that he likes the Harafi ruling. And I think it is refreshing for our democracy. Every law student will tell you that every country has a set of landmark cases.
Okay.
Cases that alter the direction of a country's future.
Yeah.
We will have decisions like this. Some the state will agree with, some the state will not agree with.
Okay.
But that is what shapes our reform. Our reform is not only about what government initiates. It is also about what the legislature does. It is also about what the judiciary does. And just yesterday, the State Court of Appeal gave a ruling for a similar application with a different result.
Okay.
The State Court of Appeal has now given, within the space of just over a week, two rulings with two different outcomes.
Okay.
But that is refreshing. I mean, of course, it creates a bit of confusion, and also it needs to be clarified.
Okay.
But the law needs to be studied. But it's refreshing that we now see our courts in operation independently, impartially, objectively, arriving at their decisions without any interference by the executive.
Okay.
That is a big plus.
Yeah, true.
For this case. And we should recognize that.
Yeah.
We, of course, are not happy with the Harvey ruling, rather not with the Harvey ruling as such, because we also need to clarify one thing. That ruling was in favor of the state. The application for a stay was dismissed.
Oh, okay.
But it is the premise of that dismissal which concerns the state.
Oh, okay.
It is not, you see, a lot of people will not understand it. It was Harvey who submitted an application for the court to grant him a stay of execution.
Okay.
The court dismissed that application, but it's the reasoning that it has given for dismissing that application which concerns the state, and which we have said quite clearly, depart from the long-established practice in this country about commissions of inquiry and white paper.
All right.
So just to clarify that as well.
Well, thank you very much, AG. Our time is not very much. We will definitely like to have you here. And one of the things that we've always said, we don't hold brief for anybody. Obviously, it's a country where our democracy is young, people will speak. But what you have done is what we also expect from our public servants. Sometimes it's just to give that feedback, and I promised that I was going to find out whether indeed this was withdrawn, and it's good that you've called. So thank you very much, sir, for calling. We would like to have you on our program when you are available. Please come, and it will be interesting for our listeners to hear from your perspective, because a lot of Gambians are a bit edgy. Is it that everything that the commission has done is going to waste because of the misgivings or the misdeeds of the Ministry of Justice? But thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead.
But wait, you see, when you talk about the misdeed or the whatever, I mean, where is that? People need to understand that. You see, I will come to your program Sunday to further help.
Thank you.
We will appreciate that, sir.
What these things mean. Because really, to say that there is a misdeed, we say that this is a departure from long-established practice. And if the Court of Appeal itself says that their position is new.
Okay.
So, I mean, who could have known, in view of these two facts, that the Court of Appeal is going to take this new position? Who could have envisaged this?
Okay. Okay.
We have followed established practice in this jurisdiction.
Okay.
The Court of Appeal admitted that their position is actually a new one.
All right.
So where is the misdeed, so to speak? And the Court of Appeal did not say we cannot enforce the Jammeh Commission.
Okay. All right.
It didn't say that. We issued a press release to clarify.
All right.
The Court of Appeal said many things.
We'll have to cut you, sir, because our time is up. We have about a few seconds.
We'll organize it another time.
Yes, but thank you very much. We appreciate you calling and clarifying. Well, that was the Minister, the Honorable Minister of Justice. Thank you, sir.
The new Gambia is alive and well, and I'm happy that the Honorable Minister called. But you see, in the absence of credible information, the rumor mill thrives, and oftentimes the general public feeds on the rumor mill because our public servants, our public offices are not out to tell us. It would have been good for the Parliament or the Ministry of Justice on their Facebook page, Twitter, we had a meeting day X on X subject matter regarding this. Then we know that it's still alive and well.
Not to hold brief for the minister, but he normally has these press briefings. I'm not too sure, but you are right. A Twitter thing and a Facebook thing should have been able to do. Well, thank you very much, listeners. We don't have much time. Thank you for being there. Till we come your way next week, God bless you. God bless our beautiful country, Gambia.
And hope we have an election with a draft constitution, not 97.
Worldwide news. Corona is making